action research project, which really focused on improving college and career readiness in mathematics at North Jackson High School, based on the ACT. Our problem at North Jackson High School is that we've been having significantly poor performance on the ACT, specifically in the mathematics subsection. This is not a problem limited to North Jackson High School. This is not a problem limited to Jackson County. This is not a problem limited to the state of Alabama. This is a nationwide issue, and it's something that we wanted to take a look at, see if we could develop a plan that could improve student performance on it and ultimately improve student college readiness. One of the main reasons that we chose this is because we looked at a 4-year trend at North Jackson High School, and in that 4-year trend we noticed that we've been having a declining performance in mathematics, to the point where a year ago we had 3% of our students who took the ACT that could be labeled as college ready. That's a problem. It's something we need to fix. So our plan was to select 30 students at random to participate in the ACT preparedness course that would really try to get them locked in on what the ACT wants, lock them in on what they need to do to succeed on that test. And then it would give us an idea, okay, by doing this, is our problem content-based or is our problem test-taking based? It's probably a little bit of both, but we want to address one of the areas to see what kind of impact it has to ultimately gauge the impact of the other. The focus of the course would be on test-taking strategies, learning how to take the ACT, learning and focusing on close reading, which ties in with a district-wide initiative that we have that's really trying to improve student literacy, because it's shown to be a huge problem in our area that students are able to read words, but reading for comprehension and reading for application are two areas that we've been very weak in, and we feel like that has a significant impact on the way our students are performing on the ACT. The results of our plan, we did see an improvement in the scores of participants in this program. We went from 3% of our students being labeled as college ready by beating the benchmark on the ACT score to 13%. Okay, that's a pretty good jump. The thing we also didn't measure, because the basis of this was on meeting the benchmarks. We wanted to see how many we could see that made gains toward the benchmark. The thing that the plan didn't measure that we're planning on going back and looking at is what kind of gains the other students in the course made that didn't meet the benchmark. Were we looking at, of our kids that didn't meet the benchmark, were we missing it by 1 or 2 points, or were we missing it by 6, 7, or 8? If we're making gains toward those benchmarks, then we're doing something good, and it's something we need to evaluate a little further in our research. We saw little change at all in the non-participant scores, still significantly low. We had 1% out of 74 students that was not involved in the program that met the college and career readiness benchmark. We had 4 out of the 30 that took the course that met it, so our 13%. One thing that may have skewed that some, we had 2 kids who scored significantly higher than everyone else in the class. Both of those were randomly selected to be involved in the study. So this is, that may have skewed the results a little bit in the positive direction. It's something, again, we'll have to continue to monitor. So our conclusions, number one, we feel like this led to some success for our participants. We feel like there's another area that needs to be addressed, that area being what's being taught in our math classes, and are we teaching directly related to the quality, the ACT standards, because we feel like there are some things that we're missing. There are some areas where we're scoring consistently low across the board for every student. But overall, we do feel like this program was something that improved student success on the ACT. The other thing that's kind of an unknown for us is the impact of the testing changes where all juniors are being tested. Statewide, if you look at reports, the statewide average dropped 2 points on the composite, I believe, this time. And it's a result of us testing everyone. Okay, people who normally would never have tested on the ACT are testing, and they're not doing well. Okay, people who are not going to college, people who are looking to get into the career field, looking to go into, looking at going to work straight out of high school. They're not going to be going to college, but our state is making them test. And again, testing is always going to be something that happens. It's always going to be something we've got to deal with, but we've got to understand what those tests are asking and what the results actually mean when we get them. The standards that were covered as part of this: 2.8.1, 1, 2, 4, 10, 11, 12, and 14, 2.8.2.6, 2.B.1.1, 2.B.2.1. The next thing we wanted to look at was a curriculum evaluation for North Jackson High School's Algebra 2 curriculum, with a focus on what we can do at North Jackson High School to make this curriculum better, what's working with it, and what needs to really go on as we move forward. First, the demographics of North Jackson High School. North Jackson High School serves rural northern Jackson County and in the very northeast part of Alabama. We're a poor area, and we're an area that it's not very ethnically diverse, but we do have a 23% minority enrollment, and we're looking at an increase of Hispanic students in our school too. I think we're at about, we're probably at about 15% African American students, and we've got, I think, 8% Hispanic. So our enrollment, about 23% minority enrollment. The other main issue we had at North Jackson High School, we're in an area where we have 68% of our students on free and reduced lunch, which obviously is going to have an impact on anything we do educationally. Three criteria for curriculum evaluation that we implemented. Number one was the development of knowledge, development of how are teachers able to get into concepts, how deep are they able to get, and how much are students able to learn? Are we dealing with something that's a mile wide and an inch deep, or are we dealing with something where they're really getting in there and learning concepts, getting conceptual knowledge? The second thing is the quality of the curriculum. Is the curriculum such that everything about it is able to meet the needs of our students and what they need from this course? And third, how useful or relevant is the curriculum to what our students are doing in their lives? If they can't find it useful, if they can't find it relevant, then there's not going to be very much that we can do to teach them Algebra 2 and have them really understand it and learn it well. So the first criterion we examined, again, developing a deep knowledge of the concepts taught in the subject. The positives, we felt like there was an effective objective clustering that really, I think there were 46 objectives that were clustered into 13 different groups. We probably had too many objectives, but I think that they were clustered effectively to allow teachers to be able to meet them all, in chapter format or unit format, if you will. An emphasis on application problems and conceptual understanding. It really focused on that in the standards. Now, saying it and putting it into practice are two different things. We think it's a really good thing that they're saying it. You're going to see later on when we talk about the negatives, they don't really give us very good examples of being able to put that into practice. And then finally, a deep study of some of the topics was included in the curriculum. Topics like functions, polynomials were really covered in depth. There are other areas, though, where they're just kind of skimmed over. Our negatives, we felt that too many topics were to be covered overall in the course, because when you've got 46 objectives, if you're on a block schedule like our system, where they want to make sure that the first semester's finished by Christmas and you've got 85 days to meet 46 objectives, that makes it really difficult to do. And ultimately it causes some of those topics to be skimmed over. I think the concept behind the curriculum is really good and that they're pushing for deep conceptual understanding, but some of the topics they include are just skimmed over. Conics are barely skimmed over, but they're in there. Matrices are in there, and vectors, but they're not really covered in depth. So those are some of the negative aspects for criterion number 1. Criterion 2, quality of the curriculum. We're defining quality as the extent to which the curriculum goes to meeting the basic needs of students of love, power, freedom, fun, or survival. If it goes toward meeting that, then we're considering it a quality curriculum. The positives, it promotes the rigorous study of mathematics, and again, it promotes deep conceptual understanding. The negatives, though, as far as this goes, are that while they're promoting a deep conceptual understanding, they're not giving teachers and students examples of rich problems or of application problems. They're promoting the use of them, but they're nowhere to be found. So that's something that really needs to be addressed as far as the quality of this curriculum goes. Criterion 3, usefulness and relevance. The one positive about the usefulness of Algebra 2's curriculum is that it's encouraging the use of technology. Outside of that, it's extremely difficult to make connections to the real world with this Algebra 2 curriculum right now. They don't do a very good job in that curriculum of relating it to students' lives and relating it to the real world, which is the biggest obstacle that we've got to overcome with it. The negatives, again, most objectives are not connected to the real world, and the course of study even states this is not a gateway to higher level courses. Well, then why are we having this course if it's not considered a gateway to higher level courses? And if it's not relevant to the real world? Okay, if it's a terminal course, it needs to be relevant to the real world. This one is not. So, our plan to fix it, here's our cartoon. I'm still waiting for the day that I actually use this big equation in real life. But a plan to fix it, number 1, eliminate the skimmed over topics to allow more time to cover other areas in depth. Number 2, provide examples of rich problems so that students and teachers know what they're getting into, know what they're needing to look at. And number 3, ultimately increase the relevance of the curriculum so that students are getting something out of it that we can learn and implement, apply to our lives. Standards covered 2.8.1.2, 2.8.2, 2.2, 7, 10, and 13, 2.B.1.3, 2.B.2, 0.3, 4, 5, 8, 9, and 12 were covered in the curriculum evaluation project. Finally, I'd just like to say thank you to the faculty at Jacksonville State University. Thank you to Dr. Young, thank you to Dr. Allen, thank you to Dr. Warlick for really finding ways to provide us with information that we're going to need to make us better administrators. And I really think that this program's been worthwhile, and I thank you for the opportunity to participate in it. Thank you.